It is Sunday, May the 17th, 1000 hours on the East Coast. This is Coffee with Frankie. I'm the Frankie. This is the coffee. And to start our show, I think we should take a listen to this.
Frankie from Flatbush rides the Brooklyn line. Got a swagger sharp like a vintage wine. Everybody knows his name from porch to stoop. Hustling dreams in every loop. In the park he struts, hits the handball wall. Echoes hear the stories when the shadows fall. Got 1,000 tales and a confident grin. On the streets of Flatbush where legends begin. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near. He's got the rhythm, everybody cheers. Corner talks and sidewalk chalks his fame. In the Flatbush breeze you'll hear his name. Underneath the subway hum, the magic's real. Frankie's moves got that electric feel. From Atlantic Avenue to the urban hill, Flatbush Frankie's giving you a thrill. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go.
The Frankie from Flatbush theme song. We got that taken care of, so let's say hello to the chat. Deuteronomy's over here. It's a New Paltz legend right here. That's what you got right here with the Dodester. He's a member of the Inner Circle. You could be a member of the Inner Circle by clicking the join button down below. He says, like, subscribe, join the Inner Circle. Yeah, do all the things. Like, subscribe, and you may want to subscribe also to Chemtrails, which is the Frankie Substack. FrankieFromFlatbush.substack.com. Phil the Jet Adams is here. Joe Mike is here. These are all members of the Inner Circle. You could be hanging around with these, what do you want to call them? Chat legends? Chat room legends? Something like that. You could hang around with these people if only you would join the Inner Circle. You would get access to extra things. You would get access to scouting reports and playbooks and you name it. There's so many things that you get as part of your membership to the Inner Circle, and you get to hang around with some of the legends of the chat. I mean, it's unbelievable. And yet, some of you won't join. Here's James Thompson. Here's Joe Mike talking about Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, but so the big news in the NFL, of course, Aaron Rodgers signed $25 million last night, back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And No, the Steelers, they're looking forward to more plays like this. All right, here he's going to throw a nice pass. Oh, maybe not there. Oh, maybe oh. Well, all right. Maybe they're not looking forward to plays like that, but but he does other things. He doesn't just get cremated and give up the ball and let the other team score a touchdown, but $25 million, that's what you get. I mean, that's, you could look at that, see what's going on, but you could look forward to more plays like that. $25 million in the bank for Mr. Rogers. Flatbush Dre is here. He says, morning. Well, morning to you, sir. We got a lot to talk about, and we got a couple of columns out. Let's do a little column comparison, shall we? So Rich Cimini is someone who writes a column for ESPN, probably makes, I don't know, $700,000, $800,000 a year. I don't know how much these people make, but he works for ESPN and does a column. And this is what he's talking about today. Breece Hall believes he and Jets can really flourish. So basically, writing a column that relies on the quotes of other of the team. So here he is talking about Breece Hall, and the Jets have not won a lot. He's basically saying the Jets don't have a lot of victories. Oh, so you're telling me they don't win that much? Oh, this is breaking news, Rich Cimini. The Jets don't win that much. Oh, okay. And then he quotes him that they put him up there, and after he signed his contract, so he quotes what he said. Then he says, let's unpack the comments. It's not enough for this shitbird that he just said some common sense things. And then he wants to call him a liar. Oh. Actually, Hall never finished better than 13th in rushing yards in a season, but there is validity to the tenor of his statement. Oh. It's hard for a running back to thrive in a losing situation. The obvious reason, a limited number of touches, because the team is throwing the ball in catch-up mode. There are also nuanced factors. Hall called it a roller coaster. He was being kind. So let's just keep beating up the Jets. Let's cover the Jets and beat them up at the same time. That's what Cimini is doing. The Jets are betting big on Hall, who received the fourth largest contract for a running back on its annual value. He's now fifth. He's going to drop even more as some of these other running backs get signed, so that contract's going to look better and better. By Mougey, great job. To validate the contract, well, first of all, it doesn't matter because we have so much cap space, there's no validating the contract. He's going to either play well or not, but he's saying, well, you got to validate your contract. Well, we want him to play well, but the only reason to worry about the contract is if you have cap problems and you can't sign other people. We don't have any cap problems. Well, Hall needs to become the dual threat he was in 23 and 24. He says, so he's setting up high expectations for him. Then he says, as a rookie, his explosive run rate was an astounding 18.8%. Yeah, but that was in limited sample size, and one of the samples was like an 80-yard run, and then later in that game, he got injured. See, so he's giving you stats to set up Hall to fail. I mean, the astounding bullshittery that comes out of Rich Cimini is like, I don't understand why people allow this. I just really don't. The Jets should get improved quarterback play. Oh, all right. In theory, that should create more space for Hall in the run game. And then he takes a look at he put together this chart of running backs and their yards and the winning percentage for the teams. Oh, this is pretty stupid. All right, schedule of events. So basically, he just spends a few paragraphs basically setting up false expectations for Breece Hall and telling him he has to validate his contract and calling him a liar. All right, well, That's your beat reporters, everybody. That's your beat reporters. So that's nice. On the surface, the Jets have the ideal schedule from pure football perspective. No primetime games, no short weeks, franchise high, 1 p.m. Eastern Time kickoffs. It's the ultimate creature of habit schedule, which coaches typically love. But you can't leave it there. You can't say something positive about the Jets without doing 5 paragraphs of negative, can we? No, we can't, because we're shitbird Rich Samini. Let's take a closer look. There's a story behind the story. Oh, no, this is a story behind the story. Oh, no. Story behind the story. Oh, no. Their net rest differential is negative 10 per ESPN research. That means they have 10 fewer days rest than their opponents. Now, what he doesn't tell you is what is the net effect of rest differential? Well, other people have done an analysis and said it doesn't matter. It means they have 10 fewer days, blah, blah, blah. 4th worst differential in the league. Oh, no. Oh, no. So this is, again, more journalistic malpractice, because he doesn't tell you what the importance of net rest differential is. He just says the Jets have a bad stat here. Ha ha. Worry, worry. Hit the Jet fan worry button, but that's how we make money around here. You make the Jet fans worry, and then you just watch the money machine go brrr. We just make money. Doesn't matter if it's accurate. Doesn't matter if we're being shitbirds. What matters is that the Jet fan worry. We must make Jet fans worried. Otherwise, how are we going to make money? This guy needs to retire, let's be honest. Then he goes into bare arms. Rookie edge rusher David Bailey already has made a statement to his new teammates, a fashion statement. It's not what he wears, it's what he doesn't wear. On the practice field, his arms are naked. Naked! They're naked? What? Naked arms? This man is writing about naked arms. He calls his arms naked. Could somebody possibly write a worse column than this in the whole history of sports reporting? Is Rich Cimini the worst columnist of all time? My report at 11. Maybe on Chemtrails we'll do an analysis of the shittiest sports journalists of all time. Probably Rich Cimini. On the practice field, his arms are naked. Oh my goodness. And they actually asked his teammates about this. Fucking cares. Harrison Phillips said props to him for being so young and healthy that he doesn't have to tape his wrists. He just wakes up and is like a cheetah. He can just go. Harrison Phillips said. Oh my goodness. The fact that anybody asked Harrison Phillips or anyone else about this is ridiculous. I know it gets cold here in the winter, he said, so I may need some sleeves eventually, he said. Who cares? Nobody cares about his naked arms, Rich, you fucking shitbird. Thank you. New mentality on D. Some of the early themes on defense are flexibility and versatility. Coach Aaron Glenn's going to employ it. Been a lot of talk about allowing players to fit the position that's best for their skill set instead of like calling a play and putting players in those positions, if that makes sense, said Phillips, who was honored for his work in the community. Also a great guy, Harrison Phillips. Yes, it makes sense. Oh, said something positive. It means they won't be trying to fit square pegs into round holes. No. I mean, like Steve Wilkes. It means they're building a system tailored to the players instead of the opposite way. All right, so he said something positive. All right. 1 out of 5 things got to be positive, I guess. I bet you the editor was pissed about this. Wait a minute, there's 2 sentences that are positive in here. 3 sentences even. What are you doing, Rich? Well, we got to throw him a bone a little bit. Big expectations. If second-round pick D'Angelo Pons is as good as the Jets think he is, he could wind up being the opening day starter at nickelback. The question, of course, is his size. 5'9". Fortunately for him, there aren't many tall receivers in the AFC East. Oh, everybody knows Height is all that matters. Pons faced a pretty good one in high school. Current Ohio State star Jeremiah Smith. Teammates with Pons at Chaminade Madonna College Prep School in Hollywood, Florida. All the great athletes are from Florida. Going against top caliber guys like Jeremiah Smith prepared me for this level, Pons said. Obviously, I consider him one of the best in the game, so I feel like when I had that in high school, it definitely prepared me for this level. You could, if you were Rich Cimini and if you actually gave a shit, like this is like the laziest column probably of all time. But if you actually gave a shit, you could go and look at like Indiana games and you could watch him play. I mean, you could do that. Watch him play? But I don't know anything about football, Cimini says to himself. I mean, I know the basics, like, you know, they got to hike the ball to the quarterback and stuff like that, but how am I going to go and watch him play? See, nah, I'll just use quotes. That's what I'll do. Oh. So that's what Cimini's writing about today. Total shit bird. And instead, I think we should focus on other columns, but let's see what the chat thinks about that. Joe Mike, did you see the UFL kicker? No. If we bring in a kicker, then I'll start looking at him, Joe. Old Dick is never happier than when he's spreading his... Yeah, I mean, this is what they do. This is what they do. This is what they do. Harry W. is here. Harry W. is in the inner circle. I mean, is there a bigger legend in the Jets chat? Not just the FSPN chat, but just Jets chat rooms in general. Is there a bigger legend out there than Harry W.? No. Now, in fact, they might put Harry W. in the Jet Chat Hall of Fame. Yeah. I think so. We need to start a Jet Chat Hall of Fame. First inductee, Harry W. And not only is he in the Jet Chat, but he's also in the inner circle. And you could hang out with this legendary man. If only you would click the join button for $2 a month. It's literally $2 a month to support FSPN and independent journalism. If you don't like the Rich Ciminis of the world, you got to support the independent people like old Frankie. And one good way to do that, you could subscribe to the channel. That's good support. We appreciate that. You could click the like button, the thumbs up button on this video. We appreciate that. Or you could go $2 a month, hang out with Harry W., get all sorts of extra stuff, and support independent media as we try to fight the Rich Ciminis of the world. Oh my God, his hands are naked. Everyone panic. Yeah. Never seen such craziness. Right, Joe? Hey, jeez. Yeah, Joe Mark says it right. Cimini can't hold the... Yeah, we're going to take a look at my column. I have a column out this morning, and people who are subscribed to the Substack already got it. 7 a.m. right in their inbox. You know? Very convenient. Lands right in there. Wake up in the morning. Oh, there's a new column by Frankie. And I think it's better than Cimini's. Fucking moron, this guy. Top of the tree. Jets Ring of Honor inaugural member. Well, I think we should have like a chat room Hall of Fame. I mean, you know, we have all these content creators around here, me being one, you know, all the content creators, and a lot of you people, you know, you're not only here, you're over there at other people's channels. And so somebody should put together a committee and say who's the best at these chat rooms. You know, create a little competition. Like who's the number one commenter across all these channels? You know, maybe it's Phil Adams. Maybe it's Joe Mike. Maybe it's Alan Dodds. We don't know. I don't know. Somebody, we'd have to have a vote. You know, you got to take a vote. And that way you'd know who's the best. Who's the best of the best? Because right now, you don't know who's the best of the best. Is it Harry? Is it Joe Mike? Is it Dodds? Is it Phil Adams? Is it somebody else? We don't know. How are we supposed to know unless we put these people in a jet chat Hall of Fame. You know, got to put together a committee. Got to take a look at the stats. You know, you're gonna have to be around a long time. You can't just show up. You know, you can't show up in the morning and expect to make the Hall of Fame in the afternoon. That's not going to work. Got to be a multi-year guy in the Jet Chat. You got to be chatting away, helping out the content creators. You know, it's hard to do a show, live show, without the chat. It's kind of stupid. So, you know, hey. Well, whoever gets inducted, Joe, definitely should give a speech. I mean, we got to have a website to keep track of it also. You know, who's in the Hall of Fame? We got to know. I think it's a good idea. The Jet Chat Hall of Fame. You got to know who the Hall of Fame chatters are. We'll give them, well, what colored jacket should we give them, though? Because you already got the gold jacket for the NFL Hall of Fame. You got the green jacket in one of those golf things. We need to know what colored jacket you're going to get when you're in the Jet Chat Hall of Fame. And, you know, that could be decided. Maybe it's a blue jacket. I don't know. Jojo says there's too many Jet content. Well, yeah, tell me about it. They're all my competitors, Jojo. The Frankie column arrived in the UK. Yeah, you don't even have to pay extra parcel prices to mail something. Just comes right in the inbox. Zoop. Even if you're living in the UK or you're living like Braden in New Zealand. Hey, for God's sakes, New Zealand? Phil says, my vote is for Harry, the Frankie Ring of Honor. One inductee per year. Well, maybe so. But let's check out now. I mean, what you say, well, okay, well, Samini's got a terrible column. What are we to do? How are we supposed to, what alternatives are out there? Jets X Factor has gone to shit lately. Yeah, I agree. Well, there's chemtrails. Frankie from flatbush.substack.com. This is what it looks like when you land over there. You can see we got a column from this morning. Came out 2 hours ago. The media is finally changing their tune on the Jets. This is not about Rich Samini, of course, but we got an article about Cade Klubnik. Is he an overlooked gem or an overhyped bum? We take a look at that. Hell of a haul. Yeah, then we took a look at D'Angelo Ponce over here, the dog fight. We took a couple of columns about Geno, grading the Jets draft class and so forth and so on. So you see there's lots of columns. And this morning's column's all about the narrative is shifting in real time. And this is something that I've noticed. It's becoming pretty apparent that narratives around the Jets are starting to shift from completely negative to somewhat positive for the 2026 season. Vegas hasn't really moved much. But some other analysts are looking at the roster coming away impressed. Others are looking deeper into Geno Smith and seeing beyond his 17 INT year with one of the worst teams in NFL history. Still others are using the Jets as anti-narrative clickbait. Here are some examples. And then I give you proof of my claims, which is something I am wont to do. Here's Mike Florio. Are the Jets finally trending in the right direction? He says. Here's Jordan Schultz. This guy is the heir to the Starbucks fortune. His father's Howard Schultz. He started Starbucks. This guy has more money than you could ever imagine. Jordan Schultz. He says, my favorite NFL teams off seasons, right here, Jets are one of them. 1 out of the 6. Oh. Then he says, I might be in the minority on this, but I'm really liking what the Jets have been building. Look at this offense. It could be sneaky fun in 2026. And goes through that's what we've been saying, but this is a national guy. That's why I'm bringing it up. This is a national guy. Now, Schultz is generally very positive in general, but here's some more. The New York Jets rebuild is incredible. Just Football says. What about why the New York Jets are suddenly dangerous? Ruffin the Passer says. Even Colin Clown heard. Jets, Chiefs, Browns have added really good starters. This is on the first day of the draft. So even Colin Clown heard said we added really good starters, really good in caps. So you see the value here. I go around the internet world and bring you what people are saying. And this is a common thing I do. I'll give you the videos, and then you can play the videos in here. You could click play. I won't click play here. But when you get it, you can click play and watch the videos yourself and come to your own decision. But at least you get basically like a roundup. Then I say, in addition to these videos and tweets, 2 out of 3 hosts on Good Morning Football chose the Jets as their surprise sleeper. This comma shouldn't be here, but okay. Got to get a better editor. I'm the editor also. Team on one of their segments. You're even starting to see some of the toxic dialogue amongst the fan base shift from we're the worst team ever to with all this talent on the roster, the coaches better not fuck it up. As usual, the truth is somewhere in the middle, but it's interesting to see how easy it could be to start to turn the whole thing around simply by winning 9 games or more this season. The model franchise New York Jets. As the narrative shifts more and more, it'll be interesting to see if the Vegas line moves much. Over the past 15 years, Vegas odds have been somewhat accurate, but they are off on average by about 2.5 wins. And then I show you that I went into AI and asked it how accurate Vegas odds are. And they said the preseason lines are among the most accurate public projections in sports. The accuracy percentage is effectively the 48 to 50% over rate, with an average miss. This is where I get this information. The average miss of only about 2.5 wins. It says only 2.5 wins. But that's a lot of wins if you think about it. So Vegas has us by 2.5, and on average, they're off by about 2.5. So that gets us up to 8. If we can, perform better than expectations. And then we would be a slight outlier at 9 or 10 wins is what I'm coming to. And it seems like there's a betting opportunity here. But only a few with true eyes to see it will take advantage. And here's a way you might take advantage. I'm not, saying you should bet. But, you might want to put down a few shekels. You never know, especially if you got the money. So that's a good way to, if you don't like Samini and some of these people, a good way to stick it to them. Subscribe to Chemtrails. Frankie from flatbush.substack.com. We also have other things here. So Substack is a great alternative media site. Whatever you're interested in, Substack has content for you. And so I would highly recommend checking out Substack, even if you don't want to check out Chemtrails or anything like that. Any topic you're into, you're sick of the mainstream media, well, go to Substack. That's where the independent media is. There, YouTube, and on X, I would say. Joe Mike, I delete anything from Cow Turd. Yeah, but if he's saying something good, that tells you something, right? He's usually very negative, so anytime he says anything positive, it's like, well, that's interesting. Even he is saying something positive. Jojo, why do I keep seeing that the Jets should trade one of their backup running backs? Well, where are you seeing that, Jojo? You got to tell me where you're seeing it. Could be in some of the dumber places on the internet. There's a lot of dumb, bad content out there, man. That's the other thing. You got to filter your stuff, man. It's really a challenge, but you have to filter your information that you get. I mean, YouTube has a thing where you could tell it, don't recommend this channel. If you keep seeing bullshit content, there's a little 3-button thing on the side, and just click that and it says, don't recommend this channel, and YouTube won't recommend it anymore. Same thing with Instagram, although I've noticed it doesn't really work on Instagram. Facebook has nothing but garbage. I would get off Facebook altogether. I don't use Facebook. It's just total garbage. I tried it. I mean, I used to have one back in the day when it first started, but then I was like, man, this kind of sucks. And then I tried it, a couple of years ago, see what was on there, and it's all garbage. It's like the worst. It's unbelievably bad content. Just total bullshit. And then, what else do you need? But then you can filter in. This is what I'm trying to say with Substack. You can filter in good information. You don't want to fill your head with bad bullshit information. You have to filter very carefully these days. One way to do that is to block and mute bad stuff and let in the good stuff. So one way to do that, subscribe to Frankie from flatbush.substack.com. That's one of the reasons I started it, to counteract some of the bullshit. I mean, it's one thing to call these people losers and shitbirds and just keep calling them out on their lies and bullshit. And we'll continue to do that here on FSPN. But you also, at the same time, should probably provide an alternative for people. So that's what the Substack is really trying to do. It's trying to provide an alternative source of columns to read. That's why I'm bringing up this contrast. Which column was better, Cimini's or mine? I mean, mine wasn't the greatest column of all time. It's kind of hard to scratch out some news at this point in time, but I would say mine's better. That's my opinion. I mean, calling Breece Hall a liar and bringing up some of his stats and saying they're not as good as they could be. Is that a good column? That's what Cimini's doing. Making you sour on the Breece Hall extension when you should be happy about it. That's what he's really doing. And making Jet fans hit the worry button. Worry, worry, worry. Oh, no. That's what he's doing. Like, is that a good column, or you want to hear what I wrote about and show you the evidence for and try to give you all the context I can, where he leaves out all the context that doesn't fit his narrative? It's fucking bullshit. But there needs to be alternatives. People want to read about the Jets. And if there's no alternatives, they're going to go read Cimini. They're going to read Rosenblatt. They're going to read these people, you know. Joe Mike is here saying, I love that the Jets didn't do any primetime games. Yeah, exactly. Friggle D is here. Deuteronomy. I met Colin Clownherd shortly after the Jets traded for Tim Tebow. He was super excited about the Jets at that point. Yeah, I mean, he also said, he's also the person who said Adam Gase and Sam Darnold on the same team. Where do I buy my AFC championship game tickets? So he thought Adam Gase was a great hire and Sam Darnold would be successful with him. So, I mean, you know, he'll do whatever gets ratings, but that's why I quoted a tweet. Like, his tweets don't get him ratings or anything, so I think he really felt like the Jets got some good players in the first round, and it's just noteworthy because he's generally negative, although sometimes he does say something positive just to mix it up, I think. Hefe's here. Good morning. Yeah, I just said that. See, so got it. We're in the same wavelength there. Salami's here. Breece Hall extension was really good for both team and player. Yeah, there's nothing to hate about it. It's excellent. Everybody's happy. There's nothing negative about it. If he doesn't play up to the contract, so what? We don't. This is the Jets. We don't have an opportunity to get players as good as Breece Hall like other teams can just do. What if he's not as good as the contract number? Who cares? He's going to be a good player for us. That's all that matters. So we get this goddamn thing going in the right direction. Joe Mike says, Mike Repoli wants a piece of the Jets. Made public plea to Woody to sell him shares. Hope it happens, but we know Woody won't. Now, I don't want Mike Repoli. Mike Repoli owns the UFL now. There's a lot of... Now, he's a big player. He's very rich. I don't know that he's done anything. He seems like a dope to me, but I don't know. I don't think he'd be any good. And number two, even if he got 5% of the team, what would that do for us? It doesn't mean anything. So what you want is what I said years ago, which is you need Curtis Martin to be the face of the franchise. Mike Repoli being involved in our ownership group doesn't do anything. He comes on, his public image is that of an aggressive dope. Curtis Martin, on the other hand, changes the entire narrative, and that's what we need. So just getting Mike Repoli involved in the ownership group doesn't really do anything. Curtis Martin and his private equity firm, that's a different story, because look what's happened with the Raiders. Nobody focuses on Mark Davis anymore, who's a total loser. They all focus on the fact that Tom Brady's an owner. That's what we want to happen with the Jets. We got to get Woody out of the picture and get people thinking about Curtis Martin, because Curtis Martin has a much better public image than just about anybody in this space that's Jets related. When we talk about ownership, we want to be talking about Curtis Martin because he has a pristine image in people's minds. That's what we want. Mike Repoli doesn't change anything. He's just another rich white guy. Friggle says the extension is phenomenal. Yeah, right. It was perfect. Mougey continues to do smart things. There's a couple more running backs that are going to get paid even higher, so Breece Hall will, fall down even more as far as highest paid. And then the contract is just perfectly in line with the player that he is. We have the money in cap space, so who cares? He's a good player. We know him. We like him. We know what he can do. He works hard. He produces. Do we wish he produced more? Sure, but he had, like Sumini was saying, he had a terrible situation. When you don't have a quarterback, teams can focus on stopping Breece Hall more. When you have a balanced threat attack, well, then the running back can flourish even more, which he will do. It's all just perfectly smart. Mougey is operating in Smartsville. Friggle says, Clown Herd loved Darnold. Yeah. Hefe, Frankie, most people don't want to filter in facts, which leads to truth. People want to filter in narratives. Well, I don't know what, quote unquote, people want. I really don't. But if you're people is a very vague and large group. People want different things. But as far as a Jet fan, if you're just a Jet fan looking for Jet information and good things to read and watch, you have to filter very carefully, in my opinion. You should want the best information that you can get about the Jets. I'm not talking about in general in your life, although this also kind of applies to your life. And so you should be looking for people who give you good information that makes sense and who aren't overly negative. Now, when it comes to me and FSPN, when Mougey was making bad mistakes in free agency, I was telling you that. I'm honest. I probably lean a little bit toward the optimistic. I try to see what guys can do rather than what they can't. It's things like that. But if we're acquiring bums, I will tell you we are acquiring bums like I did last year. I have a track record on this. And it wasn't good. And the draft after Azareye'h Thomas was not good. And I told you that. And that has played out. And hopefully Azareye'h is going to prove me right in terms of becoming a starter. That'd be fantastic. And then hopefully Pons plays well as well. And then we just have, a lot of options. That'd be fantastic. But I told you, beyond that pick, not a good draft. No bueno. So the roster was not in a great spot last year because we didn't acquire enough good players. Now, it also turned out we had terrible coaching as well, which is not great. And then we also had a bunch of injuries, and we traded Sauce and Quinnen on top of all that. So that's why the team was El Stinkerino. But this year it's been different, and I've been telling you it's been different. And so you need to find, I think, those honest people who are coming from a place of wanting the Jets to win and trying to not be using the Jets worry button to get clicks. That's the consistent thing with Cimini. He wants to make a Jet fan worry. So, okay, everybody seems to be pretty positive on this Breece Hall thing. How can I make them worry? And then he came up with his column. And I guess that makes ESPN a lot of money. I don't know how it works. I guess the Jet fan worry button, when you press it, you just get a lot of money. I don't know. But, I mean, I'll do things like write an article about Pascal Ikeji on Substack. I have an article about Pascal Ikeji. I did a Jets player profile on David Onyemata. You may not know David Onyemata's backstory. Did you know he came from Nigeria and then he went to Canada? Do you know how David Onyemata became an NFL player? Well, it's an interesting story. So I wrote about it. And that's what you should be looking for, I think, as a Jet fan. I mean, unless you really do want to worry and that you love worrying about the Jets, I mean, I guess some people just really love the worrying. I guess there's something going on. It's not dopamine. That would be some other chemical hit that they're getting. And maybe you just like the worry part. I don't know. But my advice is always filter your sources. And I think I'm a good source. That's why I started writing the column, because I think I write about interesting things. Friggle D's been scouting the kickers. All right. We'll keep an eye on it, Friggle. Look, if they sign, this is the second comment about UFL kickers. If they sign one, then I'll pay attention. If they don't, they don't. You know the Jets are scouting it, so don't worry. Old Chris Banjo's scouting him. Don't you worry. Old Chris, what's his name? O'Day. Coach O'Day is scouting him. Don't worry. So if there's a good one, we'll get him. There's also free agents out there like Daniel Carlson and Brandon McManus who are really good kickers. 80+% with history in the league. We could just sign one of them. We'll have a decent kicker, I think, and maybe Leggy Lenny wins the job. I don't know, but if we sign one of the UFL kickers, I'll look into him. But I'm not going to look into it beforehand. And I'm not going to pretend to be able to scout kickers. Deuteronomy, schematic fluidity. Yeah, and we should be able to get schematic fluidity. Actually, what we wanted to see last year, what I think we're going to get this year. So it was bad that it's a negative toward Glenn that he got bamboozled by Wilkes. Whatever Wilkes told him, I don't know. That's a bad thing that Glenn let himself get bamboozled by Steve Wilkes, that's for sure. But the good news is he got rid of him. He got rid of him, and now we're going to get the Aaron Glenn schematic fluidity that he had in Detroit. We're going to basically get the same thing going on here. So hopefully we get a much better result. Salami says, yeah, right. It's not a long-term deal. You were going to have to pay him this year anyway. And then next year, if something happens, performance injury, then it's over. See you later, Brees, and we draft the replacement. It's no big deal. So it's actually perfect. Phil says, Jet fandom has many levels of investment. FSPN viewers are in the upper tiers of interest and knowledge. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Here's Sharon McLean. Sharon, is this a she or a he? Sharon is one of those names that could be he or she, so let us know. But if this is a she, that would be 2 females in the chat, which may be an all-time record for a Jet. We're setting records here on a Sunday morning. If it is, but it could be male, Sharon. Sometimes Sharon's one of those names, could be male, could be female. You never know. But in any case, McLean is a member of the inner circle, so you could hang out with old McLean over here. Also, Mopamine. Yeah, Mopamine. These people are wanting their Mopamine hits. Oh, no, the Jets are going to be terrible again. Friggle says, we really need center. I don't buy this cope. 1 weak link is okay. No, it is not. We're not going to get a center, Friggle. We're going to ride it out with Josh Myers, and I think he'll be better this year. It is still dopamine. Repeated thoughts, behaviors from pathways in our brains. When we activate those pathways, positive or negative, dopamine flows. Well, either way, whatever chemical's going on, I think it'd be better to do the positive side. If you're gonna get a hit of mopamine, negative dopamine, I don't think that's healthy, and I don't think that's good for your life. Like, following the Jets should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be a pathway to moping around, a pathway to misery. The Jets are my pathway to misery, and I get a dopamine hit. Then, if you're gonna get a dopamine hit, make it a positive one, so you can be happy and be nice. Duker. Oh, yeah, Duker. I mean, Duker was with Glenn in Detroit, so they know about it. Phil says Sharon is a lady. Okay. Well, we got 2 ladies in the chat. That might be an all-time record. Especially when you consider the percentage. It's 2 out of 34. I got 34 here on a random Sunday with not a lot going on. And so that's 2 out of 34. So you got to look at the percentage. You know, the percentage of females in this chat is off the charts. We got, let's see, 5.9% of the chat is female. So I don't know, man. You know, that might be an all-time record. 5.9% of the chat female. But nonetheless, Sharon also, more importantly, like Phil Adams, is part of the inner circle. And you could be part of the inner circle. For $2 a month, you click the join button, you get access to all sorts of stuff. I mean, I put out a reminder for those in the inner circle. Keep in mind that check out the posts tab on this channel. You may not realize you got to go to the posts tab. And on that post tab, I post all sorts of stuff. And this week, I think it was, I posted a reminder of all to links to all kinds of folders that you have access to, scouting folders and playbook folders and music folders and all kind of folders that you can access. So check those out. That's part of what you get as a member of the inner circle, in addition to everything else. On local TV, so B. Travis here, the usual commercials for Jet season ticks are on the rise. Okay, B. Trav. I mean, what do you expect the Jets to do? Not sell season tickets? The Jets are in the business of selling tickets, B. Trav. You know? They do want to sell you a ticket. Would you like a ticket? And they're also sending out the emails. I get the emails, hey, the Jets had a great draft. Everybody's saying the Jets had a great draft. You want to see these young fellas? Come to MetLife Stadium. Sharon says, I'm the type of girl that keeps a guy guessing. All right. Mopamine, yeah. I think that is great. Mopamine. We got to get the mopamine out of here. Let's get some positive dopamine going. And get the mopamine out of here. We don't want to be moping around. Oh, yeah, it's Mother's Day. Today, I thought that was last week. Today is Mother's Day? I guess I got to call my mom later. I thought it was last week. What? Well, that could explain why there's 29 concurrent viewers at this moment. It's Mother's Day. Well, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I don't know. It's hard to keep track with all these goddamn holidays. Don't call Hefe a lady. She's not a lady. Oh, Snoopy says it was last week. I thought so. The hell, man. Well, then it doesn't, Snoopy, it doesn't explain the 26 concurrent viewers. Mother's Day last week. Oh, I see. Where do you see us making additions to the roster? Well, let's talk about my favorite topic in the world, the roster. Nobody knows the Jet roster like old Frankie. But in order to, and this is something that Inner Circle members have access to right here. So as you can see, we got a roster. And Inner Circle members, and there's other tabs. We keep track of who got released. These people got released over here. Draft class grades, 30 visits. Who did we have on 30 visits? Well, it looks like we didn't draft or acquire anybody that would. Omar Cooper, that's the one. That's about it. But we kept track of all that with the wide receiver buckets and the Trinity score, historicals, and all of this. And Inner Circle members have access to this. Now, this right here is the main thing. This is the roster. And as you can see, we added Tim Patrick as a perfect role player for us. So I think the wide receiver room is set, and I actually think that the offense is pretty set. I mean, we might add a backup quarterback. One of the things that's interesting about the Aaron Rodgers signing, what are they going to do with Mason Rudolph, for example? You know, if you added Mason Rudolph as an upgrade over Bailey Zappi, that'd be nice. Because they have four quarterbacks. They're not keeping four quarterbacks. So they got Rodgers, they got Mason Rudolph, and then they got the youngsters, Will Howard and Drew Aller. Howard and Aller. So they might waive Mason Rudolph. And then Mason Rudolph, if he's on waivers, I forget if he actually needs to go on waivers or if he gets released. He's a vested veteran, but they changed the waiver rules this last year. But if he's waived, then certainly we can acquire him very easily. If he's released, he could look at our situation and go, oh, yeah, that's a good situation to go to for himself. So that's the one thing we could do here. Now, on defense, this is where we probably need to add someone. There's two things that I would want to step up. One, Mougey Smith is here. So Mougey has not proven that he can do anything. And so the Cameron Jordan's out there. Cam Jordan has experience with Aaron Glenn from New Orleans, also Demario Davis, and also David Onyemata. So those are his buddies. He knows Coach Glenn. He's buddies with Onyemata and Demario. Why not upgrade Mougey Smith with Cameron Jordan? We got plenty of cap space to do it, depending what he wants. Why can't we upgrade the Mougey Smith position here with Cam Jordan, who's old, but it's going to be a role player. He still put up 10.5 sacks last year. So now everybody wants to upgrade the third linebacker. I think they love Kiko Mauinoa. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I think. So we could see a linebacker upgrade here. I would go after Matt Milano myself. But the big one is Andre Cisco. And depending on how this defensive backfield plays out, you may not need to upgrade Andre Cisco because I currently have Azareye'h Thomas on the bench. But he might win the outside corner job. Then you put Pons on the inside. Then you put Minka as free safety. And so you could improve this situation without acquiring anyone. Or you could go after a Kenny Moore type and do that. You could acquire Kenny Moore and put him as a strong safety maybe and still do everything else and then just put Dane Belton on the bench. So those are places where we could upgrade. It's basically this Mougey Smith position, this free safety, depending on how all of these defensive backs work out, and linebacker is the other spot where you may want to improve linebacker 3. Linebacker 3 is going to come in when we're in our base and not on nickel. Base is either 3-4 or 4-3, regardless of how much you play it, and regardless of how much nickel you play. So in NFL football parlance, you're either a 4-3 base or a 3-4 base. That's how people talk about it. It doesn't matter how much nickel you are in. And teams these days are 70+% nickel, but you're still called a 3-4, 4-3 base. Even though functionally you're in nickel. So if we were a 3-4 base, we could be a 3-3 5. Or a 4 if we're in a 4-3 base, we'd be a 4-2-5. But so that's why we have these two linebackers here, Sherwood and Davis. They're the ones who are going to be on the field the most, regardless of what is going on. And then Kiko will come in when we need heavier personnel. When you take the nickel back out, you're going to bring in this case, Kiko, because he's our linebacker 3, and you're just asking him to plug up the run. So that's basically his role. Can he do that? Can he just come in for 10 or 15% of the snaps and be in the right run fit and tackle somebody? That's all we're asking Kiko to do, really. Now, just because the other team comes in with heavy personnel and you therefore bring in your third linebacker, that doesn't mean they are running, but so he doesn't need to be able to cover the flat or do something. But that's where we are. And then, down here for the specialist, McNamara is solid. He's staying here. The long snapper actually has competition. Garrison Grimes, Thomas Hennessy. Hennessy's like 32, 33 years old. This Garrison Grimes fella from BYU, he has a very high RAS score. So that's kind of interesting that we have an athletic long snapper who's apparently going to compete with Thomas Hennessy. Let the best man win. Right now, we got Cade York and Lenny Krieg in the kicking position. So I would like to see an upgrade there. We could sign McManus. We could sign Daniel Carlson. We could sign a UFL kicker, I guess. I would just go sign Carlson or McManus myself and just release Cade York. They're better than York. And then let that person compete with Krieg. Maybe Leggy Lenny could do it. Who knows? But probably not. I would rather have a guy like Daniel Carlson who has a track record, 80-plus percentage field goals for his career, something like 83, 84%. Why not go with that? He's not that old. He's like 31, 32 years old, something like that. I would go sign a guy like that over Cade York, today. I don't know why we're not. That's what I would do. And then if you want to bring in a third kicker, you could, but basically you'd feel pretty good about McManus or Carlson. Krieg could challenge, and then Lenny Krieg could make the practice squad. But if you want to keep a backup. But that's really where we are. The offense is pretty much done, I believe. We'll see. But the defense could still use a couple of tweaks. But even as it is, it's much, 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 much better than last year. No, Friggle, no. Michael Walker's a linebacker. He's not playing in nickel. Kiko did show promise as a run defender last season. That's interesting. Let's see if PFF agrees with you. Now, I do think that Kiko's grade, Mougey, how the hell you spell his name? Plus, now his brother's in the league. Francis, CC, they call him. They're brothers. Why is this not coming up? Francisco Mougey, no. Yeah, this is our guy. So his overall grade was terrible, 42.4. That's not good. Run defense, 59. Tackling, 40. He missed 17% of his tackles. That's not good. Got to get that down. So Mougey Noah just needs to improve. And the question is he going to improve over his rookie year? He did not perform well last year under any circumstances, but his coverage grade was very, very bad, 31.7. Here's where he's at. Now linebackers and coverage grades for PFF are a little hinky, but I think our eyes also confirm he's not good in coverage. His run defense better than overall, but you can't miss 17% of your tackles. I mean, this isn't horrible. It's not, but you got to get it around 10 or lower. But, good linebackers are in the single digits, 8, 9, something like that. But 17 is too much. So, but he was a rookie, so maybe his head was swimming and he didn't know what he was doing and this, that, and the other thing. But this will be a big year for Mougey Noah. They really liked him. They took him. I think they traded up to get him, if I recall correctly. Or maybe that was Tyler Barron. That guy's probably not making the roster. They traded up for a guy that's not even making the roster, probably. Um, so we'll see. But I think from what the reason I'm saying this is because, yeah, it was a 5th-round pick. We didn't do much in the linebacker area. If we didn't like Maui Noah, then we would have done. We would have drafted someone or acquired a Matt Milano. Now maybe we still will, and then you'll know. Okay, they don't feel that great with Kiko. So, we'll see, but that's where it currently stands. But we should also just understand, just because I keep seeing way too much extreme negativity about the team, one of the things that I'm going to keep, I guess, bringing up is this, which shows you with the draft picks where the Jets are in terms of talent, roster talent in the AFC East. And we have the second most. If you consider what you're seeing here is blue chippers, red chippers, orange chippers. Blue chippers, anybody with a PFF grade over 80, red over between 70 and 80, and then orange 60 and between 60 and 70. And you have to use something like PFF to figure out, to have some sort of consistent grading system. But with a roster like this, we should be able to compete. Now, I don't know how many games we're going to win, but when you're looking at this, we used to be, last year we were last in the AFC East, and it was not even close, and it was a real big problem, and I said so. But now, look where we are. I mean, we're tied for the second most blue chippers in the whole division. Now, teams like New England and Buffalo have an advantage because of the quarterback, but still, with a roster quality like this, we should be a much, 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 much more competitive team. I'm not saying we're better than the Bills because they have Josh Allen and we do not, but I'm just saying that our roster is way more competitive than it was last year. And that was at the start of the year we were in the back, and then we traded Quinnen and Sauce and of course had the normal, injuries and stuff. So, I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic about the year. Put in the chat your level of optimism. Are you, let's say you think we're going to the Super Bowl, that'd be a 10. If you think we're going to win between 1 and 4 games, that's a 1. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your optimism level in the chat? 10 is a Super Bowl run. A 1 is like 1 to 3 wins. What's your optimism level? 1 to 10, put it in the chat. Looking at this roster, this is the roster quality. Second best in the AFC East, barely edging out Buffalo, but of course they have the quarterback, so they get the edge. But still, we're right in there. And here it was before the draft. We were still second before the draft, and then we added 3 first-rounders. So if you want to look at it this way, you can see, because the Dolphins really didn't add as much talent, even though in my system here we had to use the PFF grades for college, and they had a lot of picks, so that got them up. But here's where we were before the draft. We added 3 first-round picks and D'Angelo Pons. They added 2 first-round picks, the Dolphins. They added 2 first-round picks. One of them is a big gamble, Cade Proctor, the offensive lineman. And then a cornerback who's going to be probably pretty good, Chris Johnson. And then did some other things. But that's where we are. Dodes is at a 7. All right. Joe the Jet G, 6 or 7. All right. Phil says 7.5, just to be more positive than Alan. McLean says, I think we'll have a winning season. That's not a number, McLean. Let's go. Give me a number, 1 to 10. It's not hard. Pick a number, any number. I'm showing you the roster strength here. This is AFC East roster talent, blue chippers, red chippers, orange chippers. Hefe's at an 8. Wow. Now, this is based on the Bucky Brooks 8 to 10 blue chippers are needed for a Super Bowl run. This is the pre-draft rankings. You can see the Dolphins way down there. This is the post-draft rankings, but this uses their college grades, so that's a little misleading. I don't think the Dolphins are this close. A lot of it's going to, if Caden Proctor hits, he could be an absolute all-pro, absolutely. But he's had weight problems. He's had performance problems. Now he's going to South Beach. So that's a bit risky. It's a little risky. But they made a big swing at it. They didn't play it safe, that's for sure. But this is post-draft, and we added, the second overall player, David Bailey, the first tight end, number one tight end by far in the draft, and then a really solid wide receiver in Omar Cooper. Jersey Frog says, optimism ranking 7, mostly because our QB was league low the last 2 years. Improvements everywhere. Yeah. I figure 8 is winning a playoff game. Hank G8. A lot of optimism in the house. Joe the Jet G, I got a good question. How do you think the Colts will look? Bad? Is it possible? Yes. Is it possible for the Colts to suck enough? In fact, it's likely. First of all, they have a very hard schedule. Second of all, in the free agency period, they were ranked as the worst team in terms of getting better. They got worse, and they were the worst, 32nd, according to Kevin Cole of Unexpected Points. He said the Colts did the absolute worst in free agency. We did the best in terms of improving your roster, or opposite of improving, making worse your roster. They made their roster worse. They were 32nd. Then in the draft, they got C.J. Allen and A.J. Halsey, who are good players, but they're replacing Zaire Franklin and Nick Cross. Are they going to be any better than those guys, or are they just plugging in the same? They went 2-8 down the stretch without a quarterback last year, and Daniel Jones is coming back from serious injuries, and they didn't improve much. And they lost Michael Pittman, by the way, also, as part of their free agency badness. And on top of that, they have a brutal schedule that everyone, and like the Colts experts, the people who are like Frankie, but for the Colts, they're saying 4 wins, 4 or 5 wins. Those are the Colts people, the Colts alternative media people. 4 wins. So you have Kevin Cole saying they were the worst team in terms of free agency improvements, meaning they didn't make a lot of improvements and, in fact, went backwards roster quality-wise. Number 2, their draft, they got C.J. Allen and A.J. Halsey, who are good players, but they're replacing Zaire Franklin and Nick Cross. How much of an improvement are they going to make? Those are 2 good players they lost, and they just basically replaced them with young guys, rookies. Who knows if they're going to be as good? They might be worse. And C.J. Allen can't cover me running a route, but he is a good plugger, a good thumper. And then 3, their schedule came out, and it's very, very difficult. And you have educated Colts media people saying 4 or 5 wins is what they're projecting. So, all right, McLean says 8. Well, this chat is very optimistic, I must say. So that's good. I like to see optimism. Optimistic people are also more fun to be with, don't you think? If you're going to hang around with people, don't you want to hang around with optimists rather than pessimists? Yeah. Cafe says, I skew optimistic. I think we'll make the playoffs. I'm already chilling on Green Bean Island. Green Bean Island. Is that something he's talking about now? I don't know what Green Bean Island is. Did he buy his own island? I don't know what's going on with Green Bean. Hopefully no, I'm not going to make that joke. Joe the Jets G, the Colts play the Ravens and Chiefs. Yeah, the first 2 weeks now. The Chiefs, I think, are weaker than people believe, but they're still a tough team. And then, you wonder about how far along Mahomes is going to be. Maybe it's Justin Fields, and that changes the whole thing. But But yeah, it's not easy. Oh, okay. For those that don't know, like me, being on Green Bean Island means you think the Jets are making the playoffs this season. Well, I'm on Green Bean Island too then. I'll tell you something else. Do you guys really want to know something else? Put in the chat if you want to know something else. Put in the chat. Yes or no? Man, put in the chat, yes or no. Do you want to know something else? Because I can tell you something else. It's very exciting, but I don't know. It might be, you guys might not be able to handle it. I don't know if you can handle this amount of goodness. You guys are saying yes, but I don't know if you can handle it. I mean, can you really handle it? I don't know. This is like pretty mind-blowing information. Everybody wants to know, but how do we know if you can handle it? You know, there's some amount of intelligence and information. Not everybody can really handle it because it might blow your mind. Your mind might explode. Yeah, sit down, Hank. Snoopy wants to know. Well, it might be no surprise to you that old Frankie is scouting Geno Smith to see what exactly are we getting with this Geno Smith fella. And I'm starting with the 2022 season because that's when he came on the scene again. He reemerged. And so what kind of grades inside of the Frankie grading system, which is a very hard system, what kind of grades would Geno get if we put him under the microscope? Is he much worse than his stats would lead you to believe? How is he doing? Because the Frankie quarterback grading system, when we do our scouting, is very hard, as somebody like a JoJo would know. JoJo was with us when we were building this damn scouting system. Some of you other people may have been as well. Phil Adams maybe was in on some of those, I forget. But as we were building our system, it was a very hard grading system where if you're getting a B or a B plus in a game as a quarterback, you are doing great. And hardly anybody would get A's. It's very difficult to get an A in the Frankie quarterback scouting system, as some of you may know. And so I went back and I'm looking at 2022. I'm going to do 2022, 2023, 2024. And I'm going to say, each and every game, what kind of a grade does Geno Smith get? Because after all, if he can get good grades in the Frankie scouting system, whew, well, I hate to inform you guys, but Geno Smith is actually really good. Now, this is just 2022 so far. As you can see, 8 games. B. Now, there's 2 things. Passing grade and then his pocket management and runs. And so his passing, B, B, B plus, A, C plus. That's not so good. B plus, A. So far on the season, a high B plus. This guy is making elite throws all over the place. And then in the pocket management, it runs A, B, B, A, C, A. Overall, A. I mean, it's possible that Geno Smith is like a Pro Bowl player. It's possible. If he can play like this, I mean, it's amazing. Most quarterbacks in this system have 0 elite throws. Like, you know, here's how the system works. You want to see the system? Here's how the system works. You know, in passing, you get elite throws, great throws, solid, routine, bad, interceptable. Most quarterbacks are going to get 0 elite throws in a game, or maybe 1. You know, I've been doing this a while now, dozens and dozens of quarterbacks. He's doing 2 or 3 elite throws per game. Great. He's doing 2 or 3 of those. And he's hitting all of his routines, and then, of course, he's going to have some bad and interceptable. That's how we rate these fuckers. And It's rare to see a quarterback on a game by consistent basis, game over game, making elite throws. It's like, man, Geno might be much better than anybody thinks. And that's what's exciting. Now, I got to go through. That's only the first 8 games. Maybe he's just getting lucky over these 8 games. I don't know. And we got to do the rest of 2022. Then I'm going to do a video for the members, by the way. So members, once 2022 is over and I'm done scouting, I'll do a video. I'll show you the grades. I'll show you what happened. Then I'll show you some film as well to back it up. And then we're going to do 2023, and then we're going to do 2024, so we can know what to expect from this Geno fella. And the more I watch him, the more impressed I am. I think we might get a Pro Bowl quarterback on this team. I know, it's shocking. I get it. It might blow your minds. What if we had a Pro Bowl quarterback on this team? Yeah, everybody loves him. Phil, what are you talking about? Luke Whippler? What are you talking about, Luke Whippler? Well, the Ravens had no centers at all, so they needed anybody, basically. I'm not seeing any trades. There's no trades here. What are you talking about? If there was a trade, it would definitely be here. I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about, Friggle D. Yeah, Meadowland Swamp Thing's here. You could get extras, and you could hang out with the Meadowland Swamp Thing. Yeah, here's an example of what I'm talking about. Jason La Canfora is the worst. Possibly one of the worst human beings on earth, but a terrible, 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 terrible journalist. You should never listen to anything Jason La Canfora says. Now, maybe the Ravens are going to have to do something at center because they what they have is garbage, and they're going to have to trade for somebody. So they'll make a trade or do something. Because what they have at center, Eric DeCosta came out and admitted we're going to have to make a trade because they just didn't hit it in the draft. They didn't do anything. So, yeah, never listen to Jason La Canfora, and please don't bring that into the chat, Friggle D, I would say. Hank G, I'd love to see Geno stick around for 2 to 4 years so that we can have Cade or a 2027 quarterback learn behind him for once doing it right. Yeah, that should be the plan. Given how good Geno can be, you just ride Geno as long as till the wheels fall off, basically. And then these young fellas can just learn him whenever they're ready, whatever. We just keep, that way you have optionality. So one of the things in my columns that I've written about is optionality. We now have a QBBT, as I coined it in one of my columns, the Quibbit, the quarterback brain trust. And so, having the Quibbit means you're going to be smart about your quarterback situation. Having the veteran, having the young fellas, and let the young fellas develop at their own pace. Having the young fellas develop at their own pace. So they're not rushed in like we did with, with Darnold and with Zach. So, yeah, that's basically the plan. Let's close out all of this. Yeah, so no, doesn't seem like there's any center trades or any other trades happening. We're on it. If there were a trade, we would know. So that's what we got. All right. Last call for questions, comments, concerns, complaints, etc. Otherwise, we'll call it a day for this Sunday, this week after Mother's Day. And remember, we had 5.9% of the chat being female, which I think sets an all-time record. I think we should throw a party and a parade. The rarest of all things, the female Jets fan. And we had 2 of them in the chat, so thank these females for showing up. And, hey, we'll see what happens, but it's going to be a quiet week probably, and then I think there's a mini camp next week, but right now some quiet times. We'll see if there's any transactions that the Jets do and so forth and so on. So we'll have to see. Daniel Meehan says 7 wins. What's the plan for shows? That's a good question. I mean, we'll do our Friday night hang at the end of the week. Question is there going to be any news or things to talk about? We'll see. It may be a quiet week video-wise, honestly, but we'll do a Friday night hang. On Friday, we'll be back with Coffee with Frankie next week, of course. Other than that, we'll see. At some point, I'm going to produce videos for the members of the Inner Circle about Gino, about this scouting that I'm doing. So depending on how quickly I finish the scouting, I'm going to do a video for each year, 2022, 2023, 2024. So the members of the Inner Circle can look forward to that. That'll be something where I explain the methodology, see what grades he got, and then we're going to go over some of the tape. We're going to take a look at what Gino looked like so you can see some of these elite throws that I'm talking about. You can actually see what the hell Gino's all about. So the members, that'll be we can't make that a regular video because YouTube will say you can't use the NFL footage. But if it's non-monetized, of course, any videos that are done for the Inner Circle members not going to be monetized with commercials and shit like that. So we don't have to worry about that. So that means we can use some of the footage and see some of this tape, and I can point out what Gino's doing from the All-22 and all like that. So depending on how fast that goes, we'll have 3 videos to do, 2022, 2023, 2024. So far, Gino's grading out very well for 2022. We'll see if 23 and 24 are the same. If so, we could have a Pro Bowl quarterback on our hands, and that would be very exciting. Finns 3 and 14. Yeah, the Finns are going to have a tough time, but they're rebuilding, so no problem. All right, well, thanks for joining, everybody. We'll see you when we see you this week. Consider joining the Inner Circle. Consider signing up for the Substack. You can give money if you want to, but most of the stuff is for free. Almost all the stuff is free on the Substack. Frankie from Flatbush.substack.com. Frankie from Flatbush.substack.com. And with that being said, I'll see